So, welcome to a new lens with CommonGood Capital, where we talk with investors, RIAs, fund managers, and philanthropists about their experiences within different impact investing themes, as well as explore the power of stewardship and capital. So, I'm your host, Jeff Shafer, CEO of CommonGood Capital. And today I am here with Sib Sheikh. Now, I'm going to have him pronounce his name correctly here in a little bit. But I'm really excited because he and I met probably 2 or 3 years ago. He was living in Indianapolis. He was furthering his career in the real estate space after working in the affordable housing industry, which I definitely want to get into, where he was with the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. Today, you are a wealth advisor with SignatureFD, serving 7 to 9 figure business owners out of Atlanta. Did I say that correctly?
You got it. Absolutely.
Okay. The other thing I would say is knowing you, and you wouldn't say this, but I will. Sib loves to learn, and I've been very much impressed with his hunger in this space. Not only the space, but whatever he's done. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin Madison, MBA from Duke. That's pretty impressive. And then he has several industry certifications, designations like the CFA, which that is not a light designation. So, Sib, thanks so much for joining. Do this. Explain or share with us, how do you actually pronounce your name if you were talking to your family members?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, truly a pleasure to be part of this podcast. I've actually gone by Sib Sheikh for a long time, even before I moved to the US. Background wise, born in Pakistan, then high school, I was in Dubai, and then came to the US for college. I've gone by Sib Sheikh even when I was younger in Pakistan, because some of the sounds, obviously, in Arabic and Urdu, which are the languages spoken in that region, those sounds do not translate well in the English language, and English is the mode of teaching, at least the school I went to in Pakistan and then in Dubai. But for the rare times that my family does say my full name, especially when my mother is mad at me or something, so Sib is actually short for Sibghat. So the sound and the dental T at the end, that's something that is rare to hear in the US at least. So Sibghat is the first name. And Sheikh, obviously, that's a name that's common from that part of the world, but it's actually pronounced Sheikh. So the ghas and the khas, you don't hear that in the English language.
Well, thanks for letting me say it like an American. So let's
Mhm.
go down that path a little bit. Tell us a little bit more, and maybe tell us, because I think Americans generally know about Dubai, and there's what was it like going to high school in Dubai?
You know what? It's interesting that Dubai is such a melting pot. And you have folks from, now you're seeing more people from the US as well. But when I was there, it was mostly folks from Europe. So a lot of people from England, a lot of Europeans in general, a lot of folks from Eastern Europe as well. And even taking a step back, even in Pakistan, like the city that I grew up in, Lahore, it's one of the largest cities of Pakistan. Even that has been such a melting pot. And Jeff, I don't think I ever shared this with you, but from kindergarten to third grade, I was actually going to a school that was run by some Eastern European nuns. It was called Sacred Heart,
Huh.
and it was affiliated with the Catholic Church next door as well. So even from a very very young age, my formative time of getting exposed to religion and getting exposed to different ideas and ideologies, like again, it was a very cross cultural and
Huh.
cross religion kind of experience as well. So that's, I think, what has some profound subconscious impact, I feel, on how my life evolved. And even obviously, now I'm 45. I tend to forget that part of my life. But this morning, when I was thinking about today's podcast, after a long time, I remembered that, yeah, wow, like from kindergarten to grade 5, I was surrounded by A
Yeah.
lot of Catholic nuns, and like that was my experience in Pakistan.
There's a lot of questions I could ask, and
Absolutely.
I will, but we'll kinda go through the normal format. How'd you come to the United States? And then just give us a high level of your career up to the day.
From kindergarten to third grade, I was in Sacred Heart, and then from third grade all the way through high school, I was in a school that was affiliated with the University of Cambridge in England. It was called Aitchison College. It was actually before that it used to be called Chiefs College, and it was basically when the British ruled India. That's where again they used to train the kids of bureaucrats and the kids of basically the British that were living in India at that time. So India and Pakistan were obviously one country at that point in time. So most of the kids from my school, they used to end up going to the University of Cambridge for college. Some of them used to go to the U.S., not a lot of them, because again, because of the affiliation and the fact that a lot of our teachers were from University of Cambridge. So this it was almost like this path that used to exist. I think part of my personality has been to always have a wider palette of options to consider and not just follow the beaten path. And B, the U.S. always intrigued me, fascinated me, and inspired me for many reasons.
Yeah.
It was just like a draw that I had, not just from the perspective of the quality of education, just the values that the country holds and has held since inception. It's been a beacon of freedom. It's been a beacon of welcoming people. It's been a beacon where everybody can come and learn and grow and coexist. And also, again, just a mixture of beautiful values that people espouse and bring together. So that was always a draw, and from the beginning, I knew that for college, I am going to come to the U.S. It's interesting though that like as a young high school kid, when you're thinking about college, some of the things that are top of mind is where's my friends going, or
Right.
where's people that I know. That might be going to, and I just knew a couple of kids that were going to University of Wisconsin Madison, and for me, Wisconsin versus Florida versus California, it all used to seem the same thing. I
Right.
did not, till I obviously flew in and I'm like, what is this? Because going from Dubai to the frozen
Oh,
tundra that Wisconsin seemed like, it was definitely not well planned, but still, it was an amazing, amazing experience. But I think that's the beauty of those younger years, that your youthful exuberance and lack of, again, feeling of risk, I think, tends to let you gain experiences that you otherwise would not have. So yeah, going from Dubai that August when it was just extremely hot and humid, 100+ degree weather, to coming to Wisconsin, and then pretty soon getting hit by the cold weather, which the winter did start early that year. So that was definitely interesting but fun. The coolest part of it was right off the bat, just getting exposed to and surrounded by some amazing, amazing human beings. Like the guy who lived across the hallway from me was just an amazing Christian. And like, again, he invited me for Thanksgiving, he invited me for Christmas. So my experience and exposure of a school like Madison, Wisconsin, which is known for partying,
uh,
was just the opposite. So I just
interesting.
got surrounded by some amazing, amazing human beings that even at given their young years, were very grounded and
Yeah.
were very focused, knew the path that they were on, and wanted to pursue that path. Again, having the Lord in their heart, and just focus. And so that was my start of my journey in the U.S. And start of my journey as a college student.
You graduated with what at, University of Wisconsin-Madison?
You know, it's interesting that like one theme that has existed throughout my life has been that I've dabbled and explored, and that was true for my education and for my career as well. And that's what's allowed me to be a well-rounded individual. I started out in computer science, then added on a marketing minor, and then moved on to finance. So put computer science to the wayside, and then just focused on marketing and finance, and graduated with a degree in finance, investment, and banking, with a marketing minor.
Wonderful. And then you went to Duke. Do you specialize at an MBA in Duke, or is that a general?
They do have an option for specialization, but by the time I got to Duke, I already had a CFA under my belt. I had a few years of experience in diversified financial services. I'd worked for American Express Financial Advisors. When they spun off to Ameriprise Financial, I was part of that spin-off in the corporate finance area. I was assisting the CEO, Ken Chenault. He was the CEO of American Express at that
Yeah,
time. And then the treasurer, Walter Berman. So as a young college graduate, that was just a phenomenal experience to be part of that spin-off process, and just learned a lot. Got really inspired by all those amazing people as well. That's when I started my CFA journey as well. From there, I went to USAA in San Antonio, Texas. But you talk about weather change, because
yeah,
Ameriprise was headquartered in Minneapolis, and
yep.
then USAA was in San Antonio, Texas. So going to the warmer weather, it definitely felt like I was back home, so to speak. So had a wonderful, wonderful experience, 2 years in San Antonio. By that time, I had the CFA under the belt, and I knew that I wanted to go for higher education. And Duke was one of the schools that I got into, so I decided to go there. Again, I did explore other options as well. Duke just seemed to resonate with me from the perspective that despite their focus on personal excellence, they're all about team. And compared to some of the other top schools that I looked at and got into, Duke seemed to have that right balance of not only helping you grow personally, but also, again, as a team. And Coach K, obviously, the well-known basketball coach. He teaches classes at Fuqua, the Duke School of Business, and since he is known for being able to
Yeah,
bring all these type A people that are individually
yeah.
driven, yet being cohesive like a team. So that spirit pervades the business school over there as well. And that's what I really was drawn to at Duke, more of the mindset and the culture.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this, and forgive me if we have, but while you were at Ameriprise and in that transition, or American Express to Ameriprise, I was with CNL, and we would raise millions of dollars through American Express,
Very
and
cool.
which then became Ameriprise Advisors as well. So we very well could have. I mean, I would have come up to the home office
So
here in Minnesota. So who knows? We could have been close to each other in
no
proximity and
kidding.
had
No
no clue.
kidding. Wow.
Yeah, the other thing I will tell you, just to affirm your story, so I went to Dubai for the first time last year in August. And so as you know,
Well,
I
that's
live in
also a
Orlando,
fertile
Florida, which
time.
gets hot and
Yeah.
humid. But when I
It's
stepped off in
lovely.
Dubai, it was a different level. But the even more dramatic from that, we went to Abu Dhabi.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I got out of the car and it was like nothing I'd ever experienced. You literally felt
Absolutely.
like you could cut the humidity through the air.
No kidding.
Now,
No kidding.
it was quite unique and beautiful and all that, but so I can only imagine coming from there to, Wisconsin, although Wisconsin in August would have to be probably beautiful.
It was gorgeous, absolutely. Like, for
Yeah.
me, again, the first few weeks, or I would say the first month, it really felt like heaven, but then, like, the weather changes pretty quick, and, for the uninitiated, the first, winter can be pretty brutal, but, hey, when you're that age, you just
Yeah,
roll with it.
right,
It's fun,
right.
absolutely.
Okay, so jump in for me, because it's a deep passion of mine, and it's actually how I made my transition from traditional finance to impact investing is this space of affordable housing. So explain a little bit of your experience around
Mhm.
affordable housing. And then I actually like to dig in a little bit because I don't think most people really understand that world. So how did you get into
Absolutely.
affordable housing and what were you doing?
Yeah, even, again, my, transition into affordable housing was, Um, I would almost say that it was divine intervention,
Uh,
is what happened. Because I actually, after the MBA, I got into real estate development. I started and sold two companies. It was 2010 is when I graduated, and the real estate market had crashed. So it was just very lucrative to be in real estate. So got into real estate at that time, uh, grew my real estate holdings, started doing some small syndications as well, did student housing in Bloomington, Indiana, and then did some Class A multifamily in Indianapolis downtown. One project that I did, I named it the Lawn Luxury Apartments. It was like right by Monument Circle in Indy downtown, and I was in my late 20s. You're flying high. You're just like, again, just quote unquote, just drunk with that success and that the quick inflow of wealth that with no credit to myself, because it really was that decade of cap rate compression, extremely low interest rates. A lot of money was made in real estate. You just had to have a little bit of common sense, but clearly I was letting it get to my head, and I was
Interesting.
definitely deviating from the ideal version of myself that I want to be. So again, I've again given myself a penthouse in that apartment. But as most downtowns are, it's the haves and have-nots are right next to each other. So we had a cluster of high-end apartment buildings. Lilly executives used to live in them. Salesforce executives used to live in them. A lot of my tenants were from those companies. Yet, right across the street was a men's shelter called Wheeler Mission,
Huh.
and it's interesting that you're in your bubble and you're in your own world, so you don't even notice or pay attention. Again, in my periphery vision, I knew that that men's shelter was right across the street. Every day, I used to see that again through the window, all these beds that are lined up, and slowly men trickle in, and they're all like just packed in there. Then one evening, I was again just watching TV in my apartment, and I look out the window, and then there's this gentleman in Wheeler Mission in one of those rooms with those little beds just packed next to each other. And he's looking at me, and he and I
Yeah.
make eye contact, and it was almost like the rug got pulled from under me. Literally, my world changed in that very second, because just this overwhelming realization uh, of guilt and of what I'm doing or what I'm focused on versus what I should be doing, uh, just came flooding in. Just so it's just like a lot of overwhelming emotion. So that basically was a big turning point in my
Yeah.
life. Again, I sold that apartment building soon after that, and I took a sabbatical for a couple of years because I knew that the knowledge and experience and resources and connections that I'd gained within real estate, I wanted to channel them for good and for a specific purpose. I'd heard about low-income housing tax credits, LIHTC, ICDA, the state's housing finance agency. They were literally a couple of blocks away from where my apartment building used to be. And so I was aware of all of that, but it had never registered or clicked. And it almost seems like God had put those things in my path for that very reason. I was supposed to build the Elan there because IHCDA was literally 2 blocks away, and I was meant to build it right across from Wheeler Mission. So I wanted to learn about light tech and know it inside out. So my first thought was, hey, I'm a developer. I'm gonna take these skills and start doing my own light tech developments. Started conversing with the folks at IHCDA, and I soon realized that, you know what, like me building an apartment building every few years, because it is a very competitive process, and it's a competitive process. Very few applications get approved every year with that state funding. I was talking to these folks at IHCD, and they were also passionate about what they were doing and the massive impact that they were having every year. The agency awards $500 million in incentives every year, in tax credits and tax exempt bonds and vouchers. Yet talking to them, I realized that a lot of them were lifelong bureaucrats. And although they were responsible for allocating so much capital to these goals, they had blind spots that they, with no fault of their own, they would not have known, because they had never done real estate development. They did not know what it involves and what it entails. Yet here they are responsible for awarding all this money to various developers. Given my background, I was realizing and seeing that like maybe the capital can be channeled way more effectively and serve even more people. So I made that decision. I obviously the level of income that I was generating and the lifestyle that I was enjoying being a real estate developer at that time versus working with a state agency, it's completely different. But I decided to just again take a sabbatical, join ICDA, and basically utilize my knowledge and experience and resources to basically contribute in the best way possible. Only opening that they had at that time was that of an underwriter. Talking to the management over there, they obviously knew my background, they knew my experience, to graduate CFA, and the underwriter role was just an entry level role. But that was the only thing that was available, and the understanding with them was that although I'll be joining the agency as an underwriter, I would get involved at a much higher level. And sure enough, they involved me in the Qualified Allocation Plan Committee, which is this document that gets produced, the Qualified Allocation Plan that gets produced every couple of years. And that's basically the Bible, so to speak, of how that half a billion a year is going to get awarded. So I was in that committee. I was also involved with the tax exempt bond program as well. Uh, so although the underwriter role was the foot in the door, that allowed me to just get involved in a lot of different things with the agency. And there's a long list of things that thankfully, like, we were able to accomplish together uh, in those 2 years.
Let me set the stage, and if I've said this wrong, correct me. So first of all, you're a developer of traditional real estate, high-end real estate. I was in the real estate business, in that same time period, so it was a great time to be doing real estate. So I'm assuming you did very well financially during that
Absolutely.
time period. So then you get this call, this nudge to go help in this way. So you first go to say, hey, how can I actually use my development skills, get some of these tax credits or low income housing tax credits, and then continue in your development skill
Yeah,
set. That's one thing, okay? Because look, these LIHTC developers, and we'll talk about in a second, what that really means, but there's money for developers to do this. I mean, otherwise
exactly.
nobody would develop them. But
Absolutely.
but you don't go that way. You go one step deeper and say, "No, no, no, let me actually go work with this agency." So you're gonna get in the middle of this bureaucracy, and then I imagine your compensation is government entry level work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, just to give you an idea, like, so obviously there's two types of tax credits: the 9% and the 4% tax credit. Your typical 9% deal, you're able to make 1 million per project as a developer in Indiana. For a 4% deal, it can be 2, 3, 4 million per project. If you do get the project awarded, obviously the award rate is pretty low. On the flip side, and that was similar to what I had been making as a private developer as well. And to your point, they incentivize private developers who have the knowledge, skill set, and the capabilities. They attract them by offering these high returns that are comparable to what they would have been making in the private sector. On the flip side, as the underwriter, like, my starting salary was lower than what I had as a finance trainee at American Express. So that's again a decade and a half.
Well, I wanna bring that up because one of the things that, and this is hopefully I'm living this trying to live this out myself is, you got this calling at this time to go do that, and it was a sacrifice. It was a risk, and yet you acted on it. And you just think about how many times, and I'm not here to blame anybody. I mean, these same things went through my head, have gone through my head, but there's something inspiring about what you did where you said, "No, I'm gonna in a worldly sense, I'm gonna go backwards and I'm gonna risk because this is an area that I wanna learn and this is the community I wanna help." So, I love, part of why we wanna have these discussions is we want to inspire listeners not just to talk about these things, but actually be challenged to say, "Go risk for the sake of others."
Yeah, absolutely,
And that's
absolutely.
not the paradigm that most people think about.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, like, some of the critical things around that decision are, for me, I think I was very blessed to have a very supportive spouse who knew my heart, shared a similar heart, and was very supportive with that decision. And secondly, obviously, because I had been able to accumulate enough and had enough income streams through rental income that I was able to still provide a comfortable a quality of life for my family. But again, the question is that how much is enough? On one hand, families can do very well with a certain dollar amount, and on the other hand, like it's so subjective what needs you want to make critical, and what so I feel that again, having that deeper conversation with your spouse about how much is enough for us, and anything above that should be for the Lord. And like again, so that's a conversation we had many times leading up to it, and that's what made it possible and easy, and allowed me to do it consistently for an extended period of time.
Yeah, no question. Having a supportive spouse is critical. So if she's listening at some point, yes, what a gift. And the one last thing on this subject, and then we'll move on, is if you're not familiar with affordable housing, basically the math doesn't work on its own for certain income level individuals to have housing for them. And so this is where the government helps create these public partnership relationships and to create incentives for people to develop. And so, I've gotten into many discussions, and we don't need to go in it today, of, oh, this is horrible, it's being funded by the government and all this stuff. Look, it's not perfect, but it's probably been one of the most successful programs to make a real dent into affordable housing. And so all I would say is if you're one of those individuals who poo-poos this idea, I would say dig in a little bit more. Yes, it's like anything. There can be people can be in it for the wrong reason, and developers can be in it for the wrong reasons. But it definitely has produced more housing for lower income. The reality is there's still a massive, massive gap. So it's still a significant problem, and again, we won't try to solve that. Where are you at today in the context of what you think your life journey is? How would you describe that?
But the role that I have today is I am helping a lot of other people basically accomplish that I was able to accomplish for myself. So being able to provide a template and a guideline. So the typical client that I work with is an exiting business owner. And a lot of times when people come in with that level of wealth, they are inspired to have an impact, and they are inspired to use a chunk of that capital for a higher cause and for a bigger purpose. So I basically literally chart how my own path was about the couple of businesses that I exited myself, and how I grew my own capital, and then how I was able to get myself in a position where I was privileged enough to then decide what is enough and go from capital accumulation to then capital deployment for a satisfying balance, in the sense that something that is satisfying to the soul, and that's something that is satisfying to our sense of a higher purpose and identity. So that's what I've done. So again, some of the examples, and there's a range, but it seems like that real estate does seem to be a big draw or a big source of interest for a lot of uh, folks that do come in with money, and they want to deploy that capital. Again, it has ranged from again one client that ended up buying a lot of property around the town square in their little hometown, and again, they had this vision and this dream of turning it around, and taking all these historic buildings, doing this adaptive reuse, deploying some of the capital in that way. There's again clients that have then gotten involved into taking their own knowledge and experience as business owners, and then setting up their own private equity funds with other entrepreneurs that have exited, and going from an operator mindset to more of a board of director mindset, where they obviously have this knowledge and experience, and they're helping these other entrepreneurs get on their feet, and just take that business to the next level. So it's almost the template that I discovered myself over time, that involved the tax planning that optimizes an exit, the entity structuring that optimizes that exit, then also positions you well to be able to take that capital and then ensure that it's meeting not just your lifestyle goals, but also your legacy and philanthropy goals. My journey was almost leading up to this, and it was meant for this purpose. And it's almost like my true life purpose began when I became a wealth advisor, because all of my own practical experiences, lessons learned, strategies developed. Like now, I get to multiply that with many people, and that was again the same mindset as when I chose not to be a low-income housing tax credit developer and chose to be more on the side where you can multiply that for multiple developers. So right now, I'm trying to do that for multiple founders.
So I'm 52, I'll be 53 here a little bit later this year. There's so many lessons that you learn. So for example, I've been in the financial services for 30 years and you know, you talk about retirees and you talk about retirees living off of the portfolio income and you know, it's a concept on a piece of paper. By the grace of God, when I left my prior role to become an entrepreneur and create Common Good, I effectively had to live off of my income, my wife and I and family. And so not only did we live like a retiree, we also were putting capital out.
Yeah.
And again, nobody should feel sorry for us because we had the capital to do it. But I will say the emotional feeling of living off of your portfolio is
Mhm.
completely different than talking about it to somebody then going, "Oh, no, I know how it feels." I mean, I'm
Mhm.
watching the stock market and other investments that I own, which
Yeah.
that's what's producing cash flow. I disproportionately feel it, and, so there is this whole idea of empathy and having been in those shoes, I can imagine what you've been through, the highs, you know, the challenges, can be relatable so well to those types of owners, and it's just cool how, you know, our we all have a calling and a purpose, and you see how that flushes out. You may have already answered this question, but I'm gonna pose it, anyways, because I know that I mean, you've even said it, you became very much intrigued about using capital, not only to make money, but also to do good. So, when did you realize the power of capital? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely been an evolution for sure, because obviously being a student of finance from a young age, I understood the multiplication effect of capital. I understood how much value it can add. But I think that thinking when I was younger was one dimensional. I was focused on how capital benefits myself, or how capital benefits private endeavors. And then as you age and mature and you develop experiences and you see the world around you and you start realizing the amazing win-win that capital can create, where not only is it generating, again, a personal benefit, but also so much more public benefit, and how the reward, the intrinsic and extrinsic reward of capital magnifies when you have this broader view of capital and its power, and when you start defining its value more than just mere return on investment, and you start adding other components to that return. Obviously, impact funds, that was the next graduation for me from low-income housing tax credits to where, instead of the public-private partnerships, impact investing funds mostly obviously have more of a private market focus. So just seeing that how you can have a win-win, and how it's a limiting belief to think that it has to be either or, that you can either use the capital for philanthropy or for growth. Again, like when you take a step back and shed your biases and preconceived notions, you realize that, again, there's a huge win win that capital can provide, not just in terms of qualitative satisfaction, but also pure monetary as well, when you're approaching more of the public good projects, more from a holistic view. So that was something that I started appreciating more. Obviously, initially as a side spectator, and then once I got hands-on involved in it myself, again, the light bulb goes on, and you realize that how powerful it can be, and how the only limitation really is in our own minds. And once we shed that and take a step back, we realize that you can have capital achieve not just, again, purely personal benefits, but broader benefits.
Yeah, one of the things that I've often said as I too have had this mind shift is in the old model, and again, when I say the old model where it's financial kind of 100%, I'm not even arguing it's morally wrong. I just think that there is more and better. And so, but you just said it's kind of a vision and a mindset. And so what's interesting is, and I think of a whiteboard. So on a whiteboard, if you were to invest in affordable housing, let's just use as an example, and yes, clearly return would be one of the variables,
Yeah.
but so too might be, hey, we want to provide affordable housing, below the average rent of whatever to whatever, 150, families, and you put that on the board, and then we want to provide education support, blah 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 blah, blah whatever it is, and you put that on the board. And what's interesting is when you when you change what success looks like, you now have to think differently.
Hmm.
And actually, what's been so refreshing for me is that I've seen unbelievable creativity and innovation to
Yeah.
solve problems differently when money is the number one thing or the only thing you're really focused on. And so it sounds like you would agree that you've seen that in your experience as well. It's clearly what I have seen. And actually, let's get away from impact investing as a term for a second. It's almost, I would say, it's just highly innovative because it's using different tools to solve a different set of parameters, and there are a lot of unique solutions out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the cool thing is that since it is something that is off the beaten path, this mindset of creativity that encourages you to adopt and also then pursue properties or markets or areas that are underserved. It also means that there's less competition,
Yep.
and by the end of at the end of the day, a lot of these funds actually just on a purely monetary basis end up performing better as well, because there's all these incentives that are out there. Obviously, people have different views about how much city and state and federal government should be getting involved with those incentives, but the fact and the reality is that they do exist. And for an investor who's looking at it from a purely monetary perspective as well, like when they do start looking at those opportunities that are underserved, there's less competition, and then there's more return as well at times, again, if it's done in a creative way.
Yeah, I think it's very important that just because somebody has a good heart in these different investments does not mean they're going to work. It's still fundamentally, you got to have a right model. You got to be smart. It still has risk and challenge like everything else.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you mentioned this because just yesterday I was on a call, was talking to a wealth advisory firm who has sold some renewable energy funds that go back probably 5, 7 years ago, all US based. And I didn't realize this, but that fund today, suspended distributions, and it is struggling. The irony is my younger brother lives in Africa and does stuff in the renewable energy space as well. And, at the same time, these 2 things were happening. In fact, we know each other, across this, and you talk to investors and to be like, I don't wanna invest in Africa. It's
Hmm.
too risky. Well, and I say this humbly because anything could change. You're having diabetically d diag what's the word?
Diametrically, yeah,
Diametrically opposed
absolutely.
situations right now, and part of that, I would argue, is it's what you just said. You had so much capital flowing into this space over here, which was driving down the returns, then you have some hiccups. Over in this space, you weren't having that,
Exactly.
and, no, it still is challenging, still, but the performance is significantly better. In fact, it's working to underwriting, and so, I do really think that going, and again, you wouldn't wanna do this for everything, but going to where capital is not currently flowing, has its own unique challenges, but
Yeah.
has its own unique upside as well. And then from an impact perspective, it almost makes sense if capital isn't flowing to that space, you get capital flowing to that space, the impact that it's gonna have on communities and people is exponential. Now,
Y-
one could argue as that industry grows and more capital, from a legalistic perspective, maybe it's less impactful, but I actually don't think about it binary like that. To me, it's like, look, if we can invest in things and as long as they also have a mindset of the common good, there's varying degrees of how impactful it is. Part of it is how it
Yeah.
relates to your own passion and whatnot. So, okay, I have two other quick questions.
Yeah.
We hear about this word stewardship in a legal way. I think in the wealth advisory, they kind of say fiduciary. But let's use the word stewardship. Obviously, capital has power, and I think you'd agree to do wonderful things and probably to do some negative things. So, how does stewardship fit into your worldview and maybe even the worldview as you're advising clients?
No, I think stewardship is at the heart of everything that I do. It is something that is near and dear to me, and also something that I see that my clients take seriously, and something that we mutually co-create. And when I say co-create, the reason I say that is that stewardship is different for everybody, and I'll actually give you a Bible quote about it. So Peter 4:10, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. And again, the fact about different gifts and varied grace, that is so powerful, because the reality is that we each have our own unique sets of experiences, our unique sets of uh, resources, our unique sets of things that we bring to the table. So stewardship, the definition of that, I feel, is different for everybody, and I feel privileged to be in a situation where I get to channel not just my own unique stewardship, but also help channel the stewardship of each of my client in its own unique way, in terms of, again, what goals and what values and what priorities they are bringing, and how to best channel those in the service of kingdom. And that's the beauty of it, so that some people are focused on housing, some people are focused on entrepreneurship, some people are focused on arts or food, and there's so many different things through which our skills and our God-given gifts can be channeled. So that's what makes each one of us a unique steward in our own way, following the goals that God has uniquely given each one of us.
All right. The last question may be the hardest, and I purposely am going to box you in because I know, and there's nothing wrong with this at all. In fact, I think it's honorable. I think you would naturally put your family into this next question. So I'm going to say if you can mention them, but outside of your family, if you could have one dream come true in your life, what would it be?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to my schooling. I mentioned that my most formative time was basically, again, at Sacred Heart, where from kindergarten to third grade, again, I was taught by nuns, and taking that concept of how profoundly impactful your early education is, for me, my dream would be to be able to start a school in Pakistan, and be able to provide opportunities for the less privileged kids over there, and something that not only is quality education, but also opportunities for afterwards as well, whether it's scholarships for higher education, or again, low interest loans for if they want to start a business pursuit. So for me, I'm one of the lucky few who was able to really make something of myself, coming from, again, a third world country. And but there's so many gifted people around the world, and we're all God's children. So I think if there's one mission or one thing that I want to focus on, I think that would be to provide the same opportunities for other people in Pakistan that I was able to afford.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, and Anything you want to say in closing?
No, I feel that again, such a holistic conversation, and even before I walked into it, I had to introspect and remember some beautiful memories. So I'll have to thank you for it, because again, things starting from kindergarten to my whole journey, because we obviously get so busy in our lives, we tend to forget the beautiful journey that our lives entail. So this was definitely a very beautiful exercise for me as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's also interesting, you and I know each other, and this has happened with clearly other people I interview. We've taken 45 minutes or whatever the math is, and I learned new things about you that I didn't know before, and so it's just a gentle reminder to be like, "Oh my gosh, take some time to ask some deeper questions to your friends." I didn't realize that you went to a Catholic school when you were growing up. I didn't realize the story of you're developing, luxury apartments, and then you see the men's shelter, and so just even out of this 45 minutes here, I feel like I know you better. So forgive me for not having more of these conversations, but this was which was a blessing, and wishing you and your family the best. And one of these days, we're going to go to Dubai together. I think that'd be a fun little trip.
I would love that. I would really
All
enjoy it.
right. Well, don't
Hopefully,
forget.
like in December or January, not August.
Right, I agree. Well, don't forget to subscribe to A New Lens with Common Good Capital on your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us. We want other listeners to find this, and we look forward to more discussions like this. Sib, thanks so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
This podcast is a production of Common Good Capital and does not constitute an offer or a solicitation of an offer. Such offer would only be made through a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors in private placement securities should be aware that making an investment is speculative and involves a high degree of risk, including the risk of losing all or a portion of an investment. Investments of this nature are illiquid and subject to substantial restrictions upon transferability.